Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Hello and welcome to another live stream edition of the John Keim Report. Do me a favor, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, an hour later, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. You can listen to Bram Weinstein on his podcast, also on Empire and also on ESPN 630. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Bram, especially because we are kind of tired. How you feeling? How was the trip?
All right. I'm doing all right, actually. Like we got lucky when we got there. It was like 5 a.m. on Tuesday. And fortunately the hotel room was ready. So I took a nap and then went to bed pretty early. And by Wednesday, I was actually kind of on Spanish time. So I'm actually like good to go. We had a long day of travel yesterday. It was a long week, but it was a really fun week. And I feel all right, actually. I feel pretty good.
I'm glad you do because I don't, because I'm tired. I adjusted really quick when we went over there. We had a red eye. And so I was able to sleep on a red eye, which I rarely do, but I did. And so I think that helped adjust right away. Like that, we were there Tuesday. Got there Tuesday, and Nikki and I just kind of walked around the town a little bit until the hotel rooms were ready. And I was up till about 10 o'clock that night, slept for a while, and that's all I needed. But since coming back, it's been a little bit of a struggle because I woke up at 3:30 this morning and I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Vamos.
Let's go.
But it was, I will say this, and we'll get to all the Commander stuff in a second, but it was a fun experience. And I'm sure you feel the same way. Like I feel pretty fortunate to have a job where you can go do this and you're basically paid and all expenses paid to be in Spain to cover a football game. I thought it was pretty good. And, for me and yak, any good drinks in Spain, red wine from the Rioja region, get some Tempranillos, Crianza, there was a lot of good red wine. I love Spanish reds. How about you, Bram?
I had a great time. Food was amazing. Experience was amazing. Stadium's really cool. You just feel that history, global sports history there. It was so we're so used to this country. If a commissioner walks out onto the field or something, they get booed oftentimes, or the owners aren't necessarily the favorites of sometimes they are, most of the time they aren't, the president of Real Madrid came out on the field, and you would have thought that was the president of Spain. They walked out there. It was if they could have thrown roses at him, they would have. It was really unbelievable.
It was. I had the same reaction, because someone said, I asked somebody who that was. He goes, it's the president. I'm like, he's getting that kind of reception. That's great. Then it was the president of Real Madrid. Yeah. So,
really great city, beautiful, clean, cosmopolitan. Food was amazing. People were really nice, accommodating. Great city, just really, really, really wonderful city. And I hope this becomes a regular. I like traveling, so I hope this becomes a regular thing for them, that they do this every couple of years, and we don't wait 10 years to do this again.
I think with number 5 at quarterback, I don't think we'll wait that long. So, but I agree with you. I enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity to. And here's the other thing, Bram, the game felt like a playoff game. It was really weird because just teams running on the field an hour before kickoff and the crowds cheering, it was just, they were into it. And that was cool. And, going they practice at Real Madrid's facility. That was fun to see that and how different it is. I enjoyed it. And I will say the last thing on this, that before you go over there, October was a really long month for travel and with the night games. It was a lot. For me, probably had maybe 2 days off in a month and a half where you can just spend time with your wife, whatever it is, right? So it was just exhausting. So going to this and then the losing, it's just this team is not good. And you're like, oh man, what a long trip. And then you get there and thank God I'm here. That was kind of how I felt. So
it was really I'll answer this really quickly because Juan is asking, were most fans for the Commanders or for the Dolphins? Here's the thing that got me on this. So if you walked around town in the days before the game, all you saw were Commanders fans. It was all burgundy and gold. I was at I had to do a show from one of the fan rallies. 2,000 people showed up. it got to the point where the place was so overrun that they had to do a 1-in, 1-out policy. And there was a line around the block to get in, and it was massive. Everywhere we went, at least the last couple of days, all Commanders fans. So I assumed the stadium was going to be all Commanders fans. Those Dolphins fans were incognito because I saw none of them walking around the city. But when we got to the stadium, I think it was 2/3 Dolphins. Like, I was actually really surprised how many people were wearing Dolphins colors when we got to the stadium, just because they clearly were not showing themselves off in Madrid the way the Commanders fans were.
I wonder if and you're right. Like, now I say at the media hotel that's where Dolphins fans were staying, most of them, or at least, I mean, most of them who were there were Dolphins fans. I also wonder if that's because, like, that is where they are trying to lay their roots, so to speak. So, there is definitely some of that. So maybe there's some locals like that, but I saw it was nice. And it was also nice to bump into Commanders fans from all over the country, all over the world. I mean, that was, and just to know, like, the outreach of some of these shows and where people can get, how far you don't know where people are listening to your shows and reading you or whatever, and like to meet people who are from all over. So shout out if you hear this, I'm talking to you. Yes, you, because there's a lot of them, but it was really cool meeting from people from Estonia who listened to the show. It's fun to know that there's an impact, that what we do, that people care about it, and that it helps them stay informed. So that was part of it. Was very fun too. And and I like my 30-day aged ribeye that I had a couple nights ago too. That was good. So
I met people from Glasgow, Scotland, other parts of the UK, Germany, Switzerland, Israel. I'm probably forgetting others. And a number of them were coming to an NFL game for the first time because it was, within reach of them doing so. It was really cool. Same thing. They were like, we listened to your shows, like, you're our connection to the team. It was so cool. I felt like I was at the Olympics. It was really, I don't know if you've ever covered an Olympics. I got to cover one. And it was like that, where you go and everybody's there and centered around this one thing and all kind of coming together. It's the mesh of cultures. It's really cool. And listen, a ton of people flew from this area over there, but I also found that really cool when every single person who was overseas, like, made their way over to me to, like, thank us for the shows. Like, I was really, really pleased and touched by that. And so if you all are, wherever you are, if you all are watching all this, it was really cool to meet all of you.
Yeah. And it's, I always say this, it's humbling too. And so just understand that I appreciate it, and I'm glad that others appreciate it, what we do, but I appreciate meeting people like who say, they think you don't ever take any of that stuff for granted or think that it doesn't matter, because it does. And it's very cool. So I enjoyed all that as well. And the plane coming back was full of Washington fans, as you would expect coming to Washington. So, it was good. It was a really good experience. So let's get to, obviously, this team, and just, I don't even know where to go sometimes from here, Bram, because we're not sitting, what matters at this point? What matters to you going forward?
A lot, actually. So I talked to Dan Quinn before the game on Saturday, and, I get to talk to him for the broadcast, and I'm like, listen, I know you've been asked 100 times about being the play caller and all that stuff this week, but, like, I just want to hear from you a day before the game. Like, what can we talk about here? And the way he described it to me was, more than anything, he just wants to see them. He used the word level. And I extrapolated that to level set. Like, can we just get a consistent performance? There are injuries that are going to make things difficult. Like, the pass rush is going to be hard with all the missing defensive ends. And, what's the coverage going to look like with now all the missing corners? Like, there are some things, that I think we're like, let's just see. But he was like, I just want to see a consistent performance. And I think they got that the other day. Now, in fairness, like during this period, this dark period for the defense where it was just so a mess, they played Detroit, Dallas, Kansas City, Seattle, most of which are like top 7 to top 5 offenses. And Miami isn't that this year. So it matters who they played. But I thought defensively, I mean, it's not even close. They were so far better in this game than they really have been in over a month that was promising to me. And if Will Harris is going to come back, and maybe we'll get a look at Drake Jackson at some point, and we get just another look at another young player out there. And then we'll see. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about Jayden and his future here, because I know people are already asking, do you think he's going to play? And I'll talk about that in a minute. If we're going to get Jayden back and potentially Terry back, potentially Noah Brown back, etc., I am excited to see what happens. Like, I'm under no illusion that they're going to make the playoffs or win 6 in a row or anything like that. But I do feel like this team played really hard the other day. Their head was down. They were deeply disappointed by losing yet another game. We can talk about why, because they really missed out on some opportunities and had some things that, woulda, coulda, shoulda gone differently. They would have won. I would have liked to have had that happen for all of us. But I do feel like we've been through the dark period of this year. What's done is done. Maybe we can come out from the bye and have a much more competitive product than we got for the last few weeks up until this game. And if we get Jayden back, then I think, for those of you that don't want to hear, let's start losing to get draft picks, I don't know about that. Let's see what happens on the other side. And I am very interested to see it, because they remained completely, I don't know how you feel about it, but they played hard. They were clearly disappointed. This was not we came to Spain and we were 3-7. Now we're 3-8 and just kind of brushed it off. They were really disappointed by it. They've remained locked in. They just haven't gotten the results. And I'm hoping they stay that way, because I'd like to see what happens on the other side if they can get just a little healthier than they've been.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so a couple takeaways for me. And again, we don't need to dig in the details of the game because whatever, but there are big picture things to take out of that. And, so the first thing I'll start with the defense, I felt like they were far more disciplined in their coverage than they have been. So I was talking to Quinn on Friday, and I mentioned this in my 5 thoughts, but not as many people are interested in the 5 thoughts going to the game right now. And I get it. But so if you missed it, here's what I was talking about with Quinn, that he was talking, he told me, I said, well, because my question is, how can one person impact this in 1 week? How can you impact that? And it's really this is still a cumulative effort. It's not like he's going there saying, boom, move aside. They still plan together. That's how they do these things. It's always a together project. It was never just Joe Witt coming up with the game plan. He's in charge of the game plan. He's in charge of calling plays, but you have a team of people doing this. So that's always how it is. But one thing they were doing in practice last week that he said, they would run over, they'd run over plays and go over and over and over and over again, sometimes as many as 10 times, to see, did they get it right? And if they didn't get it right by that point, they're not putting it in the game plan. So it could have pared down how many plays you have available, but he said what you do have, you've got to get it right if that's the case. And I think they did that. And they only played, they played far more zone than they usually do, 5 coverage snaps of man. Now, part of that could also be whether it's to help with the discipline, but also because you lost your 2 best man corners. So you don't have Lattimore and Amos there. So you're going to adjust with that. I don't know if we'll see what the reason is, but I thought they were just much more disciplined with their coverage. And there were a lot of good examples that I saw on tape of that. And I thought Jordan McGee I like him. He had 2 stops of A-Chain in the open field that limited potential big runs. He had one where I just thought he drops into coverage, and then he sees it's going to A-Chain, so he's got to turn and flip at his hips and get to the flat, and he got him. Little things like that are encouraging. So I want to see more of that going forward. Was that because they were playing Miami? Can they do this again against Denver, against Minnesota? You have a chance to show that, hey, you can be much better than this. And as far as Jayden goes, and we can get into all this, but what could it look like? And I know people now are looking at, they want the top 7 pick, right? And so here's the question from Juan. Do you shut down Jayden for the season at this point? So going to Bram's point, I think first of all, it depends on when is he ready. If he's ready for Denver, that's 6 games. Do you shut a guy down for 6 games? I don't. Joe Burrow is coming back. Why? You know what I mean? I don't think it's a good look if you shut a guy down like that if he is able to play. If we're talking 2 or 3 games, maybe a little bit different there. Then I think they probably would shut him down. But if you're talking 5 or 6 games, I think that would be awfully difficult. And I know that guy is putting in a ton of time to get ready to come back. That's what he's doing. And he's going to the facility Same time he normally does, 4:35 that time. So I'm not shutting him down for that because I would like to see Bram, especially if Terry's out there, Noah. How does it look like now? Can we see the glimpse of who we thought this team might be?
Yeah, I'm not shutting him down. I mean, let's just start with this. Is his elbow healed enough that it's not going to get re-injured? Like, that's important here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's assume good health.
Assumed good health here. Okay. Assumed good health. Yeah, I'm playing him. And I don't even know what the argument is about this. Like they have 6 games to go. Like, if that elbow injury happened like 3-4 weeks from now, I'd be like, don't no. He's not going to come back to play in week 18. Like, we're not going to do that. There's 6 games to go. I know it's realistic that they're probably not going to make the playoffs. It's extremely unlikely it's going to happen, but I think it's important for a number of reasons. Like, one, when Quinn said the other day, I don't want it to feel like we learn how to lose. Like, I agree that something's got to turn the corner. I think they've been through the darkest period of this season. We saw this with the Dolphins, actually. They fired their GM. They traded away a star player. Everyone's talking about Tua's future with the team. The coach may or may not, probably won't be there after this season. They're aware of what the score is there, and all they've done is won 3 of 4, including beating Buffalo at home. So, they've been through their dark period. Things have probably lightened up a little bit, and they're competitive, and they're winning a couple of games here. I'm hoping, after what I saw in Madrid, that we're through the worst of it, that we hopefully will get a little healthier, that we've seen the worst of the way the defensive unit can play. It seems like things were stabilized, at least for a week. Maybe it'll turn the corner to being pretty competitive. Obviously the injuries are going to limit how effective they can be and what kind of turnovers they can get and all that stuff. But they easily could have won the other day. And I think they're through the worst of all of it for this year. And I want to see what the other side looks like. And there's way too much season left to sit there and start talking about shelving people. And I think Jayden needs to play, frankly. He has, when he has played, not looked like the same quarterback that he did a year ago. I want to get him back out on the field again. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been magic. And he's been hanging onto the ball longer than he typically did a year ago. He wasn't as decisive as he was a year ago. I want to see him play more. And I think he needs to get out there. This is all health assumed. I'm not putting him at risk if that elbow's still banged up. We're going to wait until that thing is healthy and he's ready to go. I don't want to put him at any more risk than he needs to, but if he's good to go, they start practicing him next week and they feel good about that left elbow. Let's go. I am all for him playing the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. There's a couple of things too. I want to see him against the receivers that he's familiar and comfortable with, not throwing to guys that you don't get a lot of reps from, who you don't know what routes they're going to run, because that's been an issue at times. Like, there are times where, even in that breakdown that Kurt Warner did, where I heard from people later, like, well, on this route, he was waiting for this guy to do this, and then we ran it much more shallow. That's why he wasn't ready to throw to the guy when he was there, right? So little things like that let's see what it looks like when you have McLaurin and Debo and Noah Brown out there, assuming those guys get back out there. That's one thing. So I want to see, not so much does it still work, because I think it does. I don't have any doubts about Jayden Daniels going forward, but you want to see, what does the offense look like? And Cliff Kingsbury's getting some heat, but you look at the receivers the other day, it's Chris Moore was your number 2 receiver. And then you have 3 of your 5 receivers in that game were not on the roster to start the season, and some of them were on the street. So let's see what it looks like when you have your complement of players that you thought you would have. Then the other part is too, is I know people here are saying it in the comments, he needs to get better still. He needs more reps. You don't want this to be a lost season.
I agree.
Because, so one of the big things they're going to talk about, Bram, is him scrambling, right? Dan Quinn alluded to that after that game. I know it's going to be a point of emphasis for them with him, and it has been, and it will be. So how are you going to get better in learning the script, when to throw it away, when to do this, by not playing? You want him to be better at that. And it's not like he's horrible. It's just that there are a couple of times that injury.
I don't really think he puts himself at unusual risk. The Giants need to have a real conversation about Jackson Dart. The guy's going to get himself killed.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the Dayball firing when it was I think they have a pretty good prospect, and he's playing the game recklessly, and he's not going to have a career. And I don't see that with Jayden. I actually think he's quite protective of himself. That elbow injury, John, was a fluke. Like that, he could have been struck by lightning. That was crazy that happened. The other ones, listen, like they're both on. He took a bunch of hits from not being protected very well. Like, I'm sorry, but like this wasn't him not protecting. None of these were not protecting himself, and he runs out of bounds. Like he doesn't take a lot of unnecessary hits. I don't see a reckless player when I watch him play.
I don't think he's reckless, but I will say on the injury one, it's a handoff or a pass. That's one where you've got to. He shouldn't be running the ball in that case.
On the elbow.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But like the injury he suffered though was a fluke. Like,
1,000%. And listen,
fluke that happened.
And I would say like that could happen on a good scramble. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm with you on that. I'm just talking about like the decision, because we're only talking about a couple times when he does this. He got better with it this year. You saw him, like, remember last year, there were a lot of run out of bounds for a sack when it's like, you could just throw the ball away, right? And he got better with that for sure. And anytime you have a dynamic quarterback and you do not want him to shelve that part of him, you do not want that, because it takes away a huge part of his game. It's just there are a couple times where they're going to be like, in these instances, and it's a lesson that any young player has learned. And there are going to be still times in the future where it's going to like, oh yeah, maybe there you should have done this. But in the moment, you have a guy that's an intense competitor, which is why he has turned himself into the quarterback he is. And the intense competitor is why he's really good. It's why he shows up at 5 a.m. for these things. So you don't want to ever lose that or take that away. It's just like, in some of those cases, you like be a little bit better, but you're always going to have, with any quarterback, I don't care where, if you're a pocket, you're a scrambler, you're going to have that issue because, like you said, on the one against Dallas, it's a free rusher. He didn't do any, there's nothing he could do.
Yeah. I think also, and because there's just a lot, and it's we're all talking about it because he's been injured 3 times this year, and all of the cases are very different. Dart keeps getting concussions because he's putting himself in harm's way. That's not what Daniels is doing. Right. And because of all of this, there's a couple of things. I want him to play one because I don't want it to be that long when he plays again. Right. I think he needs the time and the reps. 2, with all of the discussion about it, and I understand the concern about it. Like, I'm concerned too. He's our future. I don't want him to get unnecessarily injured either. I also, with all of the, he needs to do this, he needs to do that, he needs to do this. I want to point out, I really don't think he's a reckless player. I think his instincts are one of his best qualities. And I don't want him second guessing everything, because all he hears about is second guessing everything. Like, to me, like, the magic for him is his instincts. Like, that's what made that season last year the best rookie season I've ever seen a quarterback have. He just had impeccable instincts and instinctive play. And I don't want to see him lose that at all, overthinking everything that he does. Right. And so I really want him to get back out there for all of those reasons and let him do his thing. And if you want to have a reminder here and there about just get out of bounds or slide or whatever, cool. But I don't see, like, I hate the comparison with Robert, but like, it's an easy one because we all know how he played. Robert was reckless the way that he ran into people. He wouldn't run out of bounds. He wouldn't slide. He tried to outrun everybody. That's not what Jayden is doing. No. I don't see that. I know he's gotten hurt, but I don't see that with him.
No, and I'll say this: the difference between, like, there are a couple of things there. I'll stick with that for a minute, but I agree with you. The only quibble I would have on the and I think they would too is, and I think he would too. But on the when he got hurt, you're right. It was a flukish way it happened. But that's a play where it's designed handoff or throw, and so, like, just one of those two. That's one where I'd say boom, boom. That's an easy one to say. Other times it's like you've got to be yourself. And you're going to, is there a risk? Sure, there's a risk anytime you step on the field. So I think that's a hard thing to take away. The difference between he and Robert is that first of all, Robert had a hard time learning to keep your eyes up when you're in the pocket. Like when you start to run, he'd be 10 yards behind the line and his eyes are down. He's ready to run.
Yep.
Jayden has done a much better job keeping his eyes upfield. That's led to more throwaways this year, and it leads to can lead to more big plays in the future. So I like where he's progressed with all of that. I really do. He's just a better passer. I mean, there's no comparison to that. But I do think I think there's a lot of value in him playing, but I'd like to see, again, for his future, for their future, see him finish better. Like, and if the defense can't do anything, but they're losing 35-34, well, at least like, hey, this is what the offense is supposed to look like. We already know that defensively they need more help. We know that. But what can the offense just remind us what it could have been like with the offense had there been good health?
Yeah.
And it will solve calm a lot of fears about anything like that, right? And they still need to get more parts offensively.
A lot of people are just talking about the high draft pick and like that's some kind of silver lining of a season that's gone completely awry. Like this whole year, we're going to spend a lot of time about this, regardless of how the next 6 games go next year, John. You and I are going to be talking a lot about rethinking a lot of things that happened throughout the course of the spring, the summer, the roster, contract negotiations, the injuries, the decision to not, Dan Quinn not to move quickly to take over the play calling, a little bit sooner than maybe he did. We're going to have a lot of questions about just about everything, because this season did not go in any way, shape, or form the way that they thought it was going to go. But I do think, honestly, I'm not vying for some top 3 pick here. The silver lining to me would getting a glimpse of the team I thought I was going to get over these next 6 games. And I'm under no illusion that they're going to go 5-1 or anything like that. But I do want to see something closer to what I saw a year ago, and get a better sense of, okay, everything's steadied. We have a lot to talk about why things went wrong. Hopefully we'll learn from the experience, but this team is who I thought it was. Right. And there's a lot of injuries that have a lot to do with the reason why things went really awry. And I can live with that. What I don't want to have is this thing crater. We bubble wrap our stars because we're scared to get them hurt. No, these guys aren't being put in bad positions. They're not getting hurt because bad choices are being made. They are very competitive. They are still locked in. Let's let them go do their thing and show us the team that we thought they would be in the summer. That would be the silver lining to me. So I don't want them to lose out or bubble wrap Jayden or anything like that. I want them to go out there and win some games, be highly competitive with really good teams here in these last 6. Philadelphia, Denver, Minnesota's going to be needing that at home because if they want to stay in the playoff hunt, they're going to need that game when they play us. I really want to see us try to remain as competitive as possible and win some of these games so that when we do go into the offseason, they feel like, okay, that was a really bad season, but we stuck together. We turned it around. We made the best of what was left of the roster. We're going to be fine, and we'll see what next offseason looks like.
Right. And, for people worrying too, the way this draft class is shaping up, what you hear already, and I haven't dug into it because it's not Thanksgiving yet. I'm not going to the draft. I'm not talking about the draft yet because it's just too early. It's funny, Bram, because last year it was such a long season. By the time we got to quote unquote our off season after they lost, it was almost February. And it's you didn't have as much time to talk about all that stuff. This year is going to be I don't want to be sitting here talking about the draft from Thanksgiving on. It's going to get really tiresome. So it would be nice to have something change the narrative a little bit. But I'm with you. I'd like to see what does it look like, right?
Yes.
There's been a lot of stuff about they got to do more in their center. They got to do more of this. What they got to do is get guys healthy and then see what that looks like and go from there. And we haven't seen that. And I'd like to see him with Terry and get that back. Oh yeah, that's what it can look like. And then how does Debo play off of that connection, et cetera. So I would like to see that for sure. Well, and there's a lot that Jayden can still learn.
100%. And then on the other side of the ball, we all know they don't have Myles Garrett on this team, right? And we all know that they can upgrade the roster, but it can't be what it was for that 3-4 week period where they were a sieve. And so we need to see can they run what they run in this era of the NFL and offense and be successful doing it? It's very important to me that we see this, so we think the structure of the defense is fine and we can try to upgrade and maybe get a little luckier with injuries next year. But if they cannot, circle the wagons and show a defense that's not ranked 30th or whatever they are, then we have to have a discussion about schematic alterations that have to be made next year too. So that's important to me as well. I want to see the defense, as Quinn put it, level set, play with the conviction, play with the aggressiveness. I think we're all eyes wide open that they don't have the best stable and roster right now, and they're very injured, but I do want to see them look like the defense that I thought they would be. And there were signs of it the other day. Maybe Quinn just has a feel for this that's a little bit different, having done it for so long. They had a corner blitz. I've been waiting 2 months for that to happen.
That was a good one.
Yes, they had a really good play on the Von Miller sack. That reminded me of the end of the Dallas first half when they, for some reason, were up on the line of scrimmage when Dallas had a 3rd and whatever, and Dak throws a dime to George Pickens, and we're all going, what are you playing up like press for at this point, like with a receiver like that? And the sack for Von Miller was they played against the sticks. It was some situational football that was a little bit better. This team has remained locked in. I just need to see competitive efforts. I know they're not going to go on a run, but it's important to me to see them look like the team that I thought they were going to be. So I feel like we can talk about this season, figure out what went wrong, what changes we need to make, what upgrades we need to make, how we might handle certain things differently. But I don't want them. My point is, we're not in the NBA here, and we're not looking for a quarterback. I'm not tanking nothing right now. If we needed a quarterback, I'd go, I don't know, man. Maybe we should think about it. But we don't. So I want to see us go win. That's what I want to see them do.
Right. And then just a couple more thoughts here, and we're going to wrap it up here because we're both my eyes are shrinking as we're on here. So I think a couple of thoughts on that too. And again, the draft class is deep at receiver, edge, cornerback. So if you're picking, maybe do you get the best guy or do you get the guy at 12, at 12, 13, whatever it is? I think I'm with you. I'd like to see this team finish strong still. I understand the draft nicks, and there's always, it feels like every year if they lose 3 games, like in the beginning of the season, just tank. But I think it's important because this staff will be back, right? It's important to reestablish who you are as a team and start to form something, whether or not it carries or whatever. It just reminds people okay, it's not as bad as people think. I think that would be important for them for sure. And, the other thing too, Bram, and just thinking about this, you go back to the offseason, people wanted to trade like a 1st-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. Just think if they had done that and what that pick might look like for the Bengals would have been pretty good. Then the other one too, and we'll get into this in future shows about Adam Peters and the heat on him. And I think it was Deluxe over here asked about that. Is it fair with all the injuries? And that is something it will be a topic that will be addressed, kind of going over the moves to see because there are a lot of good moves that certainly panned out. And then others in case guys like Jacob Martin, I think he was a good backup. Well, he got elevated to a starter because of injuries, but he was signed for depth. So, and I think they knew that this roster was still another off season away from
Absolutely.
I know this because I had the conversations last year, had them again, but I knew it was conversations during the off season. So all that is accurate. But going to the final point, I think there's a lot that this team can gain from playing well down the stretch. And to your last thing on defense is you're right. You still want to see what works and what doesn't, whether it's personnel, scheme, et cetera. Yes. And I also want to see guys like Jordan McGee more and Johnny Newton he only got 21 snaps the other day, but how does he progress? And he's being used more as a 3 tech, not so much against, it's not, he didn't start, safety. They got to figure that out too. That's going to be, how many holes do you have in the offense? How many holes?
Here's the craziest part of the whole thing. I was thinking about this today. So they easily could have won the other day. And if I know it was a long field goal, but if he makes it, they win. And, unfortunately they lost. I mean, they held time of possession. They outgained them. They had every reason to win. They didn't, whatever. and then they blew the Bears game with that fumble, couldn't get a stop at the end of the game, and got beat by them. I think everybody would feel a million times differently right now. Not great about where they are, but a million times differently if they were 5-6. Like, just think about the conversation we'd be having right now. And they very easily could be that right now, based on what happened on Sunday and the Bears game. All the other ones, they lost those games. But like, we'd be walking into the bye going, well, when we get Jayden back, when we get Terry back, when they get Will Harris back, look at Drake Jackson. Maybe he's got something on the edge for us. Like, all of a sudden, you would feel entirely differently about the whole thing, but they're not. They lost both of those games. Those are the two that got away. The other losses they took, they were practically non-competitive in a few of them. But man, would this conversation here wouldn't be about all this offseason stuff. It would be, you just wait till we get our healthy quarterback back and his number one receiver, and we'll see.
All right, I got one more topic here, but I want to go through this. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. Bram, who are we'll stay here a couple more minutes, but who are some guys that you're like, I want to see this guy over the next couple weeks?
I actually want to see more of Bill in the next 6 games. Like, I think he's got these like explosive qualities to him. I think the offensive line's kind of coming together a little bit here. Cosme's had a few games. Connerly's getting better. Like that Brandon Coleman switch up where he became like the 6th and like big package worked. So I'm actually interested to see that, and especially against really good defenses like Denver and Minnesota. I'm really interested to see. And so I'd like to see him just get more reps. I said this on a show I did with London and Logan earlier today. I said to him, I think he's someone who needs to learn to wait for his pitch. Like, he's very instinctive. He's got explosive tendencies. He makes people miss constantly. I think I just want to see more reps from him so that he gets just a little more accustomed to the NFL game, doesn't try to break every play, follows his blockers at times. And then every once in a while, you know when, I can bounce this. And I'd like to see him a little bit more. And then I am intrigued by McGee. He flashes a ton of speed, and it's nice to see. And I agree with you. He made a couple of great open field tackles against an all-pro player, and that's always a really, really, really good sign.
And there were times too where I like when guys meet the pulling guard before the line of scrimmage. And he had one where like he does that and it leads to a Wagner tackle. So it's like you do your job just by you help someone else make the play by doing your job. And he did that too, but you can feel his speed when he's on the field, and not like he's not, Usain Bolt out there, but compared to what they have, like he's faster than Bobby right now. He's faster than Frankie, and you feel that, and they need that. I would like to see Mikey Sarenstill finish strong just for his purposes, for their purposes going forward. And, the punt was tough the other day. That's not his main job. For people who, and by the way, this is a little aside, but people keep asking about like, why was he back there? Because that's what they work on in practice. He does work on in practice. The other problem, Bram, is that all these other people named Chase Edmonds, Igbenogany, you go down the list, none of them have ever returned a punt in the NFL. That's not what they do. Igbenogany works on it just like Mikey does. I don't know who would have had it better. I think the problem is when you have to run up for something, fair catch it. That's what I would say. That to me is,
I think the other thing, the interesting one with Sarenstill, and this is for next year too, I don't know that he's not going to be a full-time outside corner. Like,
I just don't see it for them.
I don't know.
I just don't see it for them. But, and I only, again, because every time they make a decision on it, they're putting him inside. Here they have to put him outside. And I think, again, in Quinn's history, all of his corners are big. And that's why that part gives me pause with it. I think the other thing is to play outside in this defense, you have to play really strong man-to-man coverage, right? That's ideally, that's what they want to do. So if he can play it, that's great. I just don't know that they ever see it that way. But
Yeah.
who knows? And but if he goes out there and plays well, that's what they want. That's all.
Right.
That's all you want. So I liked how they played. I just liked the awareness that they showed in that game. I think that's something that to me has been missing. The discipline, like you saw, the motion didn't hurt them because they're playing a lot of zone. It was just there was good communication with that. You could see that at times when I'm rewatching the stuff, and so I think you saw a lot of good things to build on, to at least, like you said, make it so that way what the issue was. Was it personnel? Was it what they're asked to do? How they're being coached? Whatever it was, you get a much better feel for what went wrong if you can at least say, okay. And I think the other thing, Bram, too, like with all the injuries, if you could just play sound football, people get that, guys, this player X is just not good enough because they lost this guy, but at least they look like they're being coached well. That to me is a big thing.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
So let me read one more thing here. I forgot to do this earlier. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chance to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad. Put your fandom in drive. So, Bram, appreciate you coming on. I know you're tired. I really appreciate it. For you gold members, I will be doing a Zoom this week, probably Thursday night. So look for the link, and I appreciate it. I apologize, didn't do one in Spain because the time change was kind of brutal. 6 hours ahead is a lot. And I didn't think we'd do one before the game, but we'll get back to all those this week and then next week as well. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. A lot of your questions that we're going to get to over the next couple of weeks. And I will say this too. If you have some suggestions for shows you'd like to hear about or things you'd like to know about more, then please let me know. I know there's a Ja'Cory Brooks fan club out there. Bram, I was at the baggage. I was picking up my bag at the terminal the other day at Dulles, and a sweet lady, probably I'd say, I don't know how old she was, but little, it's an older, like I'm an older reporter, but just comes up to me, John, can you tell me why Ja'Cory Brooks isn't playing more? So I'm like, I'm going to find out more about that. And listen, the basic answer is they think others are better, but I am curious, not so much like why others are playing, but what does he need to do more, like those kind of things. We'll get into all that as we go and as we go forward, because there's still 6 games left. So lot to see, lot to learn. Bram, thank you very much. Thank everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. And I will be back, I think on Thursday or Friday with another 5 thoughts. So I'll talk to you next time.